eloquently speaking. Welcome to another episode of Legal Talk, where law meets justice and advocacy becomes action. I'm your host, Dr. Vickie Simon, and in our last episode, we interrupted regular programming to focus on a possible government shutdown and the rehiring of government employees and the stipulations that may not have been favorable. And in less than 7 days later, we are discussing in its entirety the government shutting down. It's not just a headline, it's a warning, it's a disruption, it's a direct hit to how our communities survive. This isn't politics, this is personal. And in today's episode, I'm breaking down what the shutdown means for you, your family, your healthcare, and your financial stability, and whether a stimulus check is even on the table at this time. In the next few minutes, we'll unpack together what a government shutdown actually means and how we got here, what it does to federal workers, healthcare and safety net programs, how shutdowns deepen inequality and erodes trust and public service, and what we need to demand now before damage becomes disaster. Now let's lay this out together. A government shutdown happens when Congress fails to pass funding legislation for federal agencies. No budget means no paychecks for thousands of federal workers. No funds means services freeze. But what's behind this shutdown? Infighting, power struggles, and political brinkmanship. In this case, partisan gridlock over spending cuts, border policy, and entitlement reforms triggers this crisis. House leadership is split, and Senate bills are stalled, and once again, ordinary people are caught in the crossfire. Here's what stops or slows down in a shutdown. Paychecks for federal employees are frozen. Federal agencies like the EAP, HUD, and even NIH partially or fully closed down. Non-essential services are now suspended, and essential workers, they keep working but without pay. And this isn't hypothetically speaking. Over 2 million civilian federal workers and 1.3 million active duty military are staring at paycheck delays. Meanwhile, essential programs face cascading disruptions. You're probably asking, will I get my benefits? And the honest answer is, it really just depends. Social Security and Medicare, these continue, but expect delays, especially with customer service, new claims, and appeals. Medicaid and CHIP, funding is shared with states, so short-term impact is limited, but long-term shutdowns could squeeze state budgets. SNAP and WIC, funding disruptions could halt food assistance for millions, with WIC potentially running out of money within weeks. And veteran benefits, VA hospitals and disability payments may continue, but administrative functions will absolutely slow down. And the biggest question mark of all is healthcare. CDC operations are pared down. Public health surveillance, disease tracking are now limited. The NIH can't accept new patients for clinical trials, and the FDA inspections are paused or severely limited. This isn't just about inconvenience, it's about risk. When inspections stop, when safety nets collapse, who gets hurt first? It's not the well connected, it's the vulnerable. It's families already walking on the edge. Shutdowns aren't accidents, they're political weapons, and their damage is not evenly distributed. Black and brown workers are overrepresented in federal employment. So a shutdown means disproportionate harm to those who've historically relied on federal jobs for economic mobility. Marginalized communities that rely on housing vouchers, Head Start, or food aid are hit early and hit hard. Contractors, unlike federal employees, do not get back pay. They just lose income. And Wall Street, you ask. Business elites also. They weather the storm just fine. Shutdowns are used to force policy changes through economic hostage taking, cut spending, or we crash services, change border policies, or people go hungry. And let's be real, this is coercion dressed up as negotiation. You've heard the rumors. Is a stimulus coming? Congress isn't even passing basic funding, let alone passing economic relief. Unlike COVID-19, stimulus packages, which were passed under emergency conditions, with rare bipartisan urgency. Current negotiations are locked in austerity mode. This means no checks, no boosts, no rent relief, not right now. But here's what we could do to push for this. We could push for emergency assistance for federal employees and contractors, automatic stabilizers, which policies that triggers benefits during shutdowns, and stronger protections for essential programs so the next shutdown does not risk lives. We've seen this movie before. Every time the credits roll on working people bearing the brunt. Here's what we must demand as lawyers, as citizens, as a community. In shutdown politics, pass automatic continuing resolutions to keep government funding when deals stall, protect benefits, codify uninterrupted funding for essential services like SNAP, WIC, and Medicaid, and support federal workers, guarantee back pay, and include protection for contractors. And we need transparency. Make Congress report who voted to block funding and what it's costing taxpayers. And let's mobilize locally, support food banks, legal aid, and community clinics that pick up the slack during shutdowns. This isn't just federal, it's personal. So when systems fail, mutual aid matters, but we also need structural reform, not another hero. The story of a TSA worker walking 10 miles to work without a paycheck. Shutdowns aren't just about DC. They're about us, our safety, our rights, our future. They show us the fragility of system built on short-term deals, long-term injustice. But we don't have to accept that. We can demand better. If this episode moved you, share it. If it made you angry, channel that. Call your reps, show up at town hall meetings, join the pressure campaigns because they're counting on our silence. And let's answer this with noise. And this shutdown is not just the government failing, it's the people in power choosing not to serve. Let's make sure they never forget about who they work for. And when the system breaks down, we build up together. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Legal Talk. If you were impacted by this episode, please share it and speak up. Legal Talk isn't just commentary, it's resistance. Let's make sure that this is one of many episodes that not only changes minds, but changes policy. I'll see you on the front line of reform. Until next time, stay informed, stay ethical, and keep serving your community.